Welcome back, you all, for Chapter 22, Guiding Manuscript Writing Experiences. Writing before kindergarten was asked when a concerned visitor who was observing two children sitting at the writing table. Preschool children can't even read yet. This person was unaware that children can informally begin to learn writing at this age. Correct spelling, form, and style are given only minor attention during the preschool years. Instead, the emphasis is on a readiness to develop the needed skills and attitudes for writing. As children explore, they learn how symbols and meaning combine. Art and play activities are critical in children's growth as symbol makers. Handwriting emerges from drawing, print awareness, and alphabetic knowledge. Learning to write is a result of maturation, exploration, and practice at scribbling and drawing forms. Writing is a complex and lengthy process. Children move through several stages as they develop their writing skills. The first stage of writing is called early scribbling. During this stage, the children are more interested in the physical experience of drawing on the paper than they are about the markings. The second stage is referred to as controlled scribbling. Children now use symbols or drawings to represent ideas or words. When observing children at this stage, you will note that they will use a combination of sticks, circles, and wavy lines in their scribbling. This is referred to as mock writing. Gradually, scribbling becomes more controlled, which will eventually lead to the letter stage. And at this point, the children are capable of writing real letters. For preschool children, learning to write is similar to learning to speak. Children must first observe others in the process and then imitate what they have seen. Children should be immersed in a print-rich environment. Children who are not ready for writing must be introduced to activities that will help them prepare. Activities that promote fine motor development and eye-hand coordination skills are needed. Eventually, children will become interested in writing. Manuscript writing, or sometimes known as print script, is a simple form of calligraphy. These simple strokes look like the printed words children see every day in books, newspapers, street signs, and on computer screens. It involves unconnected letters that are made of simple, separate strokes, vertical lines, horizontal lines, and then circles are used to compose the strokes. These basic strokes can be made easily by children who lack well-developed fine motor skills. Manuscript writing is not taught formally in the preschool setting. Most young children are not developmentally ready for this task. It is included in this chapter only to introduce readiness activities and the sequence by which children should learn manuscript. It is also included in this chapter so that the caregivers and teachers of young children learn correct letter formations. All teacher-made materials should be prepared using proper manuscript format. Your work will also, remember, your work will serve as a model for children. There are many reasons to encourage children's writing in preschool, especially with children who are ready for the task. Children will need to learn the differences in letter formation, that letters have names and shapes. Words are simply made of a group of letters, that letters represent different sounds. They will need to learn directionality, like left to right and top to bottom. That there are letter sound associations, that all words need spaces between them, and that print carries a message. Those are just a few of the objectives that children will learn about writing. But in order to teach those objectives, the things that you need right there at the very bottom on the board are the needed elements. There must be interest. You must cultivate the interest. You must provide enthusiasm. You must provide a print-rich environment and give support to the children as they're doing these things. So if you create that level of interest, you have an enthusiasm about it, which means you're encouraging it through your actions as well as the supplies in the classroom. You provide that print-rich environment, and then you offer that support. Writing will just become a natural process for children. Pre-writing skills. So in order for pre-writing skills, manuscript writing is mainly a perceptual and motor skill. Okay, children need visual perceptual skills to accurately interpret what they see. They also need fine motor and eye-hand coordination skills. Children need enough fine motor coordination to actually hold their writing tool and then to make those basic strokes that we talked about, the diagonal, the straight, and the circle. Their hands and their eyes need to work together. Early childhood teachers need to include activities that promote these skills in their daily routines. So that you will ensure that children learn the basic skills needed to learn manuscript writing. So fine motor activities are just simply those types of activities that will encourage children to use the small muscles in their hands and fingers. And so if you'll look in your book, you'll see a list of fine motor activities. Hand-eye coordination activities are hand-eye coordination is muscle control that allows the hand to do the task in the way the eyes see it done. Activities that promote this type of coordination are also listed in this chapter. They will promote the development of writing skills. Therefore, they should be available and used at all times. So manuscript writing systems, there's a number of manuscript writing systems available for teachers to use, and the differences are very minor. However, usually the differences are included in the directions in which the strokes are made and the shapes of the letters sometimes. And research does not support one system over the other. So whatever system your school uses, just make sure that you use it consistently and that you're skilled at using it. However, the most widely used system in preschools and kindergartens is called Zaner-Bloser. And that's a system that we're going to use in the child development program at Wallace Community College. Is the system that you will see in the textbook we're using. So make sure, the reason that Zaner-Bloser is most widely used is it's probably the easiest for preschool children to use because of the simple strokes, like we said, the horizontal line, the diagonal line, and the circle. Sometimes other forms like Danilian, which is more curvy, okay, which leads to more cursive writing, is not popular in preschool because the letter formation is difficult. And like we said, they don't have that eye-hand coordination nor that fine motor skill development in order to do that. That's why we don't see preschool typical majority of preschools teaching children like to write in cursive, okay? It's because they don't have that control just yet. So what else can we do? Well, we want to make sure that we provide children with graphic writing tools, which means give them lots of options. They don't just have to have a pencil. Give them crayons, felt tip markers, colored and lead pencils, okay? Children like lots of a variety of activities. And remember, if we're going to create that interest and that enthusiasm around writing, we can't just always have white paper with a regular old pencil, okay? So when we talk about paper, we want to use colored paper. We want to use white paper, colored paper, construction paper, little notepads, anything that might be different, okay, that allows them the ability to experiment, okay, and use their use the skills that they're developing. However, one thing to keep in mind is that most preschool children often lack the muscle control, like we said, and the hand-eye coordination to actually use lined paper. So most of the time we're going to see paper that's used in a preschool as unlined pieces of paper, okay? Now, there is a sequence, okay? There's a sequence in how children usually learn alphabet letters. First, children recognize whether a line is curved or whether it's straight, okay? So next, you're going to learn to distinguish between round letters and curvy letters. like O and C, or S and a D, okay, because it has that curved part. Then you're going to learn to recognize curved letters that have intersections, like B, got some curves, but they intersect, okay, and R, straight line, but then they have that curve that intersects and comes down. And finally, they will learn letters with diagonal lines like X's, K, okay, and then horizontal lines like L and H, okay. So that's how we will go about recognizing them. Certain letters are easier for children to form. The sequence recommended in the Zahner-Bloser method follows the similarities in lowercase letters. This is because lowercase letters are used more often. So that's why we, excuse me, typically teach those. So in order to build proper writing skills, they're based on a few basic guidelines. With practice and maturity, children learn the importance of letter size, proportion, spacing, and line quality. So size and proportion, that's a big one, okay? To provide useful models for children to imitate, you yourself must perfect your own writing skills. You must use correct letter size and proportion. Lowercase letters are always half the size of the uppercase or capital letters. Now, we have to work on our writing. Okay, so if we're going to serve as the model for children, then our writing that we have in the classroom, what we write on the whiteboard, what we write in our newsletter must reflect what it is that we want them to be able to do. Okay, so if this is not a strong suit for you, then you're going to want to practice it. We got to work on our spacing. We got to have achieve proper spacing between our letters and our words. So we got to help children with that. A lot of times people do the two finger, like write a word, put two fingers, write a word, put two fingers. Your book suggests drawing the letter O and then putting the next one. Okay. One thing we have to watch for is reversals. Young children have difficulty learning the direction in which letters face. In the early stages of writing, preschool and kindergarten children often reverse letters. When you're guiding children with reversal problems, you can just simply point out the differences in the direction. So like if a child is confusing B and D, which we see so often, you can say something like B, line, then circle. Okay, so what that's doing is telling the child that a B contains a straight line first and then the circle, or D, circle, then the straight line. And what you will see is if you tell them those little things to help them with their reversals, as they're writing it, they'll be saying it out loud. They may be saying, okay, I got to write a B because I'm writing the word boy. Okay, and so they may actually say line, circle. Okay, and then gradually reversals just disappear, and that comes from practice and time. Okay, we got to give them the practice. They need many opportunities to practice their writing. Be selective in what activities you provide to promote this skill. Be careful that you use these practices and they don't become meaningless drills. Okay, we don't want drills. We just want authentic practices. Okay, so like having labels in your block building center where they can label what they made. In the writing center, having lots of different ways that they can write. Having a mailbox in the classroom with paper where they can write letters to their friends and putting them in there. Just those good, authentic practices, not a sheet where we have a bunch of A's and you got to write A 900 times. Okay, we want that good, authentic practice. Environmental print. Environmental print is everywhere. It's the print symbols and numbers and colors that are found on commercial signs, labels, calendars, coins and bills, containers, books, billboards, road signs, and license plates. Okay, so we want to make sure that we use environmental print, allow children to bring it in so that we can say these, so we can show children that they see these letters or these things that we're beginning to write all in their environment. So how do we encourage writing? Okay, so that's your job. Your major role is to carefully prepare a print-rich environment that will encourage children to scribble and write. Children experience more success in developing print awareness in a print-rich environment. You need to provide children with copies of their names. You need to make children aware of printed names other than their own in the classroom. By all means, use correct terminology. Call it a capital letter, call it a lowercase letter. Don't say we're going to write a big A or a little e. Okay, we're calling it a capital letter and a lowercase letter. And then we also want to provide children with some tactile letters, like some sandpaper letters, so that they can feel the letter, trace it with their hands, so they learn best by its form, and so they can learn its form and its shape. And then also we want to make sure your classroom reflects a love of writing. So thank you again for joining me for this chapter and chapter 22, and I'll see you next week.